Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Project Peak Performance. This week, myself and Dave Gibbons, we're delighted to be joined with Alex Russell. I've known for probably about 4 or 5 years now, Alex. We probably go back, actually, I would have thought. And what the main reason I wanted to get Alex on, and the main reason why people should listen to this episode, is we spoke a lot about fitness, mental performance, physical performance, and effectively trying to be the best version of ourselves, being at peak level. And it's definitely something that me and you speak about probably quite frequently. Whenever we chat, we'll normally be talking something health or fitness or family related. And I think probably all three of us on this call share a lot of synergy in wanting to be the best husband, dad, person, fitness person, business person that we can. And fasting has been a conversation that whether people do intermittent fasting, whether they do kind of distance fasting, if you like, ultra fasting, people talk about quite a lot on the benefits of it. And Alex, you last week went through your longest ever fast of 5 days. And this episode is very much going to be hearing that story, why you do it, how you feel now as the fallout from it. So the first question I've really got for you is how are you feeling after a 5 day fast from last week, bud?
Well, first things first. Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on today to share um, the journey over the last week. It's been a real kind of roller coaster. So it's poignant timing because it's still very raw in my mind of what I went through, and so yeah, perfect timing really.
Yeah.
Um, why did I well how do I feel now? Well, I appreciate food like I never have done. The especially of the first few hours, few days after, you really appreciate the flavors. You appreciate that it's there. We all take it for granted because it's just in our cupboards, in our fridges all the time. But not everyone has that privilege and that accessibility. So yeah, that's the first facet. Um, and um, and yeah, I've probably just been on a big refeed since actually, just trying to recalibrate. Yeah, it's been interesting. It really has. But
What I notice, Alex, with you is a lot of so when I kind of saw that you were doing it last week and I messaged you and I said, look, I'll join you for 48 hours.
yeah.
Um, but what I did straight afterwards was I dived into the cupboard hard. And what I noticed with you is when you'd finished it, you were still very disciplined with what you did after your fast.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that would be good to cover is that the logistics behind the setup
Hmm.
and obviously what happens after and really dive into that. But the very first thing that I really want to know is why
Yeah.
it's a thing that you've brought to your life. That's something that I think everyone's got to talk about. Me and Dave will probably chat about it as well. But what is the big reason in your head, or the top three reasons why you went, I'm going to do a 5 day fast? What was the big why?
Well, it's been over the last few years as I've continued on my journey of fitness and improvement. I've always been a fitness guy. I was PT for 10 years from the age of 18 to 28. I locked in those habits early on. I've trained every week pretty much, except for a few holidays here and there since I was a teenager. And so that has always been part and parcel of my identity. And I tend to kind of have a yin and yang with my food habits, in that I'm pretty strict for much of the week, and then the weekend I kind of chill out a little bit more and get to enjoy a nice Indian takeaway, and a couple of beers, a glass of wine, and take my kids out, etc. And to have that little bit of flex and play to enable me to be able to do things that socially I need to do sometimes, as
Yeah.
a parent and as a mate. So I started about so just before the pandemic. Actually, I started to research fasting. We've spoken. Dave Asprey. We've seen a lot online. We've there's Dr. Mindy,
Yeah.
Dr. Berg, and Thomas DeLauer. Those guys have been instrumental in me kind of really understanding why fasting is beneficial.
Yeah.
And so I started to play with a 1 day a week fast, call it 22 hours. And I used to call it No Munch Monday because I was so full of glycogen from the weekend that I felt that I had some reserves on Monday to see me through until dinner. And so I did that throughout the pandemic, and it became a real ritual.
Yeah.
Felt really weird to eat on Monday after a certain period of time. And when I locked that in, I then started to look at what was beyond a 20 to 22 hour fast. And that's kind of how it all kicked off, really.
What benefits did you feel from doing the 22-hour, the Monday? Did you ever kind of look at yourself on the Sunday night, look at yourself on sort of the Monday night or the Tuesday morning? Did you feel, was it just a psychological thing, or did you actually feel or see benefit?
Yeah, I definitely, because at the end of the day, if you don't eat for 1 day out of seven, what percentage is that? Like, is that 15%, 17% of your week that's calorie restricted? So, in of itself, it's a weight control tool in your toolbox. And so, that was one element. Yes, you would go into Monday night feeling a lot lighter around the midsection. Well, I did, than you did Sunday evening, 8 o'clock, when you just finished a nice family belt packer. You
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
and so that from a psychological point of view was good, and a physiological point of view, but also the mental game, of sustaining from food and being able to do that. When you get the hunger pains starting to come, to then be able to recognize them and know, and this is where the science comes in, know actually that that is a good feeling to feel a bit hungry. Because if we're always eating and satisfying that hunger, we're not allowing the body to go through processes that our cavemen ancestors had to go through, which was their sort of feast and famine, where they wouldn't eat for a few days. And our bodies are designed to switch from glucose burning over to ketones, and that's called metabolic flexibility. And if we can switch from that energy source, and I heard a great analogy the other day about, it's a hybrid. So you're burning the fuel, the petrol initially, the dirty fuel, and then you switch over to electric.
Yeah.
It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot cleaner energy supply, and we've got that in our fat tissues, but we don't flick the switch unless we go through a certain period of time, call it 16 hours or so, to then start to get that, accessible.
Yeah. Yeah. Powerful stuff. I use my example. I don't know your thoughts on this as well, Dave, but yeah, when I started ultra distance running, I was very much trying to just fuel my body. So I would be very aware, carb load before the runs, afterwards carb load, get that in on the runs, glycogen to get through the long distance running. And I felt horrible for it. I felt inflamed, I felt stodgy, I felt slow. And then I kind of looked into exactly what you just spoke about there with the hybrid sort of element of it. And I realized that actually a lot of ultra runners do go almost keto training to a certain degree. They teach their body, and it's the first time I started to get into fasting and looking at kind of low carb diets, high fat diets, was for that benefit. And quickly when I realized that after about 3 to 4 months of teaching my body around the ketones and the electric fuel, as you call it,
Yeah.
burning its natural resources, I became very much more efficient in my distance running and wasn't feeling as slodgy, didn't need as many gels, could run for longer on natural reserves at a certain level. And that showed me that it's the state that the body's probably meant to be in physically. And it's a bit false with the amount of sugar and nasties. We were talking off camera actually, Dave,
Yeah.
weren't we, about sugar and how it affects your
We were,
body?
yeah. I mean, I signed up with a nutritionist, and one of the big things for me is to avoid sugar. So I developed like gout issues within like my knees and joints and this, that, and the other. To be honest, as people who listen to this are probably aware, it was my hedonistic lifestyle in my 20s and 30s, which led to it, to be fair. But I was explaining to Ian with regards to the sugars in my body and what it's doing, and how I've got to pretty much cut sugar out and pretty much be on a keto diet for prolonged periods of time. I would probably flip it for me as more, I probably need to do 80% keto at the moment. Maybe 20% carbs is probably a really good balance for me. But other people looking at different areas may need to move that around. But yeah, once you get over to the ketone, it's also it's really good for the brain as well. Gives you huge clarity, and it's actually pumping all the chemicals up into the brain, which are allowing it to fire. So, from a neuroscience point of view, it's not only like what's going on in the gut and everything else in the bloodstream, it's sending like the good stuff to your brain, which keeps you super alert. I think, one of the things I noticed with fasting, but I want to dig in on your side of things, is you do find that you get clarity a lot more. Certainly second part of the day once you've started doing the fasting. I'll hold my hands up. I've only gone as far as 24 hours. It's something that I've planned on doing. But I mean, I suppose a question from I mean, you look like a really fit guy. You've obviously been training ever since you were a teenager through all the PT and everything. Do you have anything like a wearable that would show you, or have you done bloods prior and post fast to see what's actually going on? I mean, obviously 5 days is going to show a huge difference, I would imagine. But then, how long does that last? And are we so? Loads of questions here. Sorry, mate. So yeah, answer those for now before I confuse it, and the listeners as well.
Yeah, I got a blood glucose monitor,
Mhm.
not a wearable, but a finger prick,
Yeah,
and so I tested it that way, just
yeah,
to see where my fasting blood sugar was,
yeah,
and, and just to make sure that it was in a healthy range during that fast,
yeah.
and so it was between kind of 4 and 5,
Okay.
which is where you want it to be. You don't want to
Yeah,
be dropping below that, really, because you've got to, obviously, during the longer fast, you've got to monitor your general feeling. How are you really lightheaded? Are you able to function? Because we've got jobs, we've got families, we've got to be able to function. And if you've got any health conditions or you're pregnant, then long-term fasting probably isn't the way to go.
yeah,
You definitely want to chat with your doctor or your health practitioner to
yeah,
kind of get guidance on that.
yeah,
But from a healthy individual, then obviously testing your blood glucose is a good shout.
yeah,
Um, and it's interesting to then test it obviously when you are eating, because then you can see the spikes
yeah,
in your readings. So
yeah.
yeah, it's good. It's good.
Happy days.
Alex, just on the prep, let's talk through the week. So the day before you fasted, did you do anything different gearing up for a 5 day fast? And why, if you did,
Yeah.
in the day leading into it?
Yeah, so it's a good idea to bring your blood sugar levels down before you go into a prolonged fast, because you want to be able to kind of switch over to ketones as soon as possible. Because if you go really, really heavy carb, on your last meal, then it's going to be a little bit harder to switch across. But it all depends on how much prep you've done. How many 24-hour fasts have you done? How many 36-hour fasts have you done? How many 48-hour fasts have you done prior to? And have you done a 72-hour fast before you even do a 5 day fast? Because it's that muscle, isn't it?
Yeah,
How many times have you switched from the petrol to the electric system? And how good are you at doing that?
Mm.
And so, for the very beginner, who hasn't even attempted a 16-8,
mhm,
don't even I wouldn't even think of a long-term fast until you have that well and truly in your capabilities, from a mental standpoint as well as a biological standpoint. So yeah, dropping the carbs right down. So just protein and fats, whether that be obviously just your eggs and your avocados, etc., or certain your favorite meats, but just obvious stuff: pastas, pizzas, breads, cereals, got chocolate, cakes, biscuits, sweets, all that stuff is just, it's not going to help you at all going in.
And then what about on the first day? So you've gone through that prep the day before. Day one hits. What's kind of the psychology? What's the planning? What are you expecting your body to feel and see? And what did you feel in that first 24 hours? And it's great advice to baby step it up the ladder.
Yeah.
Don't just go straight in full
Yeah.
guns. Like
The-
Dave says, 22. Next step for him would be 36.
Yeah, exactly.
And you kind of baby step it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, the way it worked, I was actually going to start Sunday night at 9 o'clock, but I had a tennis match on the Sunday morning, and that kicked off at 10 o'clock, and it was a 4-hour match. So I finished at 2. And so I'd come off 9 o'clock. I just have a coffee in the morning, black coffee. I got my gear ready. I had my pint of water with my salt and stuff in, and I thought, you know what? I did my tennis, finished at 2 o'clock. I was like, I'm just going to start now. I'm already like 16, 18 hours in, and I don't feel that hungry. I've had tennis to distract me for the first part of the day. So let's just go. And it was actually my wife saying, are we going to, have a few snacks and stuff on Friday night? I was like, all right. So I've definitely got to start Saturday now in order to be able to eat anything with her on Friday night. So that was my motivation there. And for me, because I've done the 24 hours so often, that Sunday for me was okay. Yes, started to feel a bit hungry in the evening, but the key was to go to bed fairly early. Don't sit around, and also clean your teeth quite early as well. Because I don't know about you guys, but once I've cleaned my teeth, I've just mentally switched off on consuming food or beverages.
Yeah.
So that's a really good like trigger.
Yeah.
And just turning the lights down in the house, once the kids go to bed, don't go and watch a film, because then you're encouraged to go and get snacks, things like that. And just get my ass into bed by 9:30. And because every time I went to sleep, I knew I would bank another 8 hours of fun.
Yeah.
Come on, let's get to sleep.
Cheat
So
mode.
they were the quick wins every night. It's like, yes, another third of a day.
Yeah.
Were you weighing yourself or taking photos, like just to see, like from your own perspective, the changes across the journey of 5 days?
Yeah, so I weight train on Monday morning and Thursday morning. So on the Monday, I went in, and now I was 36 hours in to my fast. And I did weigh myself then, and I started the fast at 89 kgs, and then I came down to 87 and a half, so 1.5 kilos down. And then when I finished, I went back in on the gym on Thursday, which was day 5. I was kind of like just like
Zombie.
very, very, very gingerly walking in. I just did some stretching, and then like I tried to lift a few weights. I was like, nah, I'm putting these down.
Yeah.
And I dropped down to 84. So I went, 5 kilo shift. But a lot of that, you lose water when you're on a fast. You also lose, obviously, all your gut is empty, so all your fiber's gone. So naturally, when you start eating again, your fiber goes up and your water goes up. So you'll very quickly regain, probably 60 to 70% of that drop. But there was obviously a fat drop a difference. There was.
Yeah.
And yeah, I looked pretty tight on Thursday morning, to be fair.
Yeah, I bet. Because Dave, you might have seen it. I know we spoke about it in the group, but Dana White, the UFC president, was doing a lot of work with Gary Brecker around this 72-hour water fast, and it really became quite a big thing at that moment, because he was kind of showing the difference in body tone, body shape.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've found about is just the inflammation, that the change in inflammation from kind of 24 hours to 36 hours is unbelievable. How quickly your body adjusts to just going, right, well, we're not in a state of feed anymore. The organs are getting a rest from that. So we'll start to go to work, beavering around on other things. So let's just sort of touch a little bit on the science. I know we're not doctors on this, but it'd be interesting to know from your point of view, the research you've done and myself and Dave around the science of why sort of biologically it's quite a good thing for the body,
Yeah.
if you don't mind touching on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the 24-hour is renowned for its gut reset. So the gut lining turns over very quickly in our body, and you get stem cells that are produced at 24 hours. So if you want to completely renew the gut, and I've heard, Dr. Mindy and Dr. Berg and Thomas Delara really talk deeply about, how that really helps, people that have maybe constipation or bloating and things like that, diverticulitis, that type of stuff. That's a kind of a major trigger at the 24-hour mark. And then obviously when you progress to the 48, this is when you get a dopamine reset. So the synaptic when they I don't know, the little bridges between the synapses, they all get kind of reset. So you get basically things that you took for granted, maybe you feel happier about them.
Yeah.
Things that you were desensitized to, now you're sensitized to again.
Yeah.
And so generally you just get this reset of your emotions, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah.
Even though you at that point at 48 hours you're really hungry, so you've got this kind of like, I know it's doing me good, but man, I could eat right now.
Yeah.
Be really good, but man, I could kill that, that steak or whatever. So that's and that was huge actually throughout the 5 days, the mental battle, and the ups and downs. And that's when I dived into the science, Ian. I dived into the science every time I felt that I was losing it.
Yeah.
That I was thinking, why am I doing this? I don't feel that great. Not many people do this. I thought, no, let's go back, jump on YouTube, watch another half an hour video in the car, listen to it in the car. And then I'd get out and I'd be like re-motivated because I'm like, that's where I am in the fast right now. That's what's happening in the mitochondria right now, in the cells. They're cleaning up that cell and making it more pure. Those types of things. And that was really important, really important.
Yeah, that's a good moment, I think, isn't it, Dave? Me and you talk a lot about finding the answer. Is like it becomes quite addictive, doesn't it? So
it does,
that I can see.
Yeah, I'm super interested in the why. I mean, for years now, I've heard about fasting. I've followed a lot of the experts, not necessarily followed, but I've seen a lot of the stuff that the experts have done. Been on like Diary of a CEO, this, that, and the other. I watched a whole one on hormones, women's menstrual cycles, and fasting, and everything else. I found it absolutely fascinating. And to go into here, the gut reset, I kind of knew about the 24. I didn't know actually about the dopamine reset. But the question is there anything else after the 48 hours? Because I'm really intrigued to know, still to now, like, why the hell anybody would think, let's just go a week without food. So was there a benefit, like an ultimate benefit to this? So like, if you can last this long, you really get the good stuff. Or was it more of a personal thing for yourself?
No, there's a huge jump from 48 to 72.
Cool, let's go.
And when you really understand this, then that is it's a bit of a game changer. So we've all heard of stem cells. Yeah. So stem cells, a lot of people have them they inject themselves with stem cells because they want to heal a body part or a joint or something like that. And it helps rejuvenate because it's like such pure information that can help our bodies. And at 72 hours, your body then starts producing stem cells. So because it doesn't have to digest any food, those stem cells are now going around the body and looking at parts of the body that are maybe injured or not performing very well, and will go in and help fix that. And so Dr. Mindy, she talked about an Achilles, that she had a real issue with her Achilles, and she tried everything, physio, chiropractic, rest, all that sort of stuff. And she said, you know what? I'm just going to chuck a 5-day fast at it. And she just did the 5-day fast. And between 72 and 120 hours, you've got 2 days of stem cells really working at full tilt, because they only just kick in at about 72. So if you do 72 and then you start eating at 73, you've only had a very small window.
Yeah.
So having that sort of extra couple of days really will help any injuries that one has. And she said that she had this on day 5, this real tingling, zizzing kind of sensation in her Achilles, and she's never had a problem in her Achilles since.
Wow.
Um,
I wonder what it does for, and I'll ask the question. So obviously you've explained before, you've been highly into fitness forever and a day. Looking at you, you can see that you've got a great physique. Is there any fatigue or muscle loss that's happening within this period? And do you have to be careful when you go back to the gym? Is there a thought process around maybe re-proteining up before we go back to the gym, or is that an issue that you should even be worrying about or not? Is it?
I don't think it depends on how much adipose tissue you have going into the fast. If you're really, really lean when you go in, you've obviously got less storage, you've got less reserves. So therefore, you're gonna be, your body potentially might start to pare down muscle tissue if you're out of fat. Yeah.
Okay.
But the reason why I picked January to do a 5-day fast is because I've just had Christmas.
Yeah.
So you end up carrying a little bit more in January anyway. Now, next year when I do the 5-day fast, I'm going to do it earlier on in January, because I actually did it later on in Jan, and I'd leaned back out from my Christmas squidge had gone come 3rd week of Jan, because I was dialed in with my training and my nutrition 75-80% of the time. So I don't think you should be worried too much about muscle during a 5-day fast. I think it's enough time. Your body's got enough reserves. You just look at the science on how many calories you've got in fat stores around your body. Why would, if you think back with our ancestors, when they were fasting, they had no food, so therefore they needed energy, they needed physical strength to go and catch their food out there, to make their kill. Why would the biology be paring down muscle and making that person weaker? Surely they'd be using the fat more readily.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
They say the best time to kill a crocodile is after it's just eaten, because it's in a certain state. And I've definitely found when if I've ever had a really big meeting or a really important webinar or something like that over the last 6 or 7 years, and it's at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, I'll never eat before that meeting. And the reason why I do that is the difference with me having food at 11 or 12 o'clock in that meeting versus me going into it kind of mentally clear. I just see the meeting unfold in a totally different way, which goes back to what you were talking about there, about the excess that we've got, and kind of what we spoke about not having food, but I guess it's not this podcast to do it, but there is an element of the food does have a hindrance. You talk about that mid-afternoon slog. You see it, don't you? I call it the meal dealers. The meal dealers in an office that go out at 12:30, get the meal deal, the sandwich, the Mars bar, and the can of Coke. Their performance at 3 o'clock is not so hot in that office.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Digesting the food, and it's not necessarily in your brain as much as it would be. So that is definitely a good observation.
Alex, I would take a guess that day 4 was the toughest day.
It was.
Because you've still got 48 hours. The last day, you're like, right, the end is in sight. But how was that day 4? Because psychologically, I would have thought that must be the toughest day, right?
Yeah, 3 and 4 was the toughest day. It really was, because the end goal, the finish line was still quite a way off. And also mentally, I had not done past 3 days. So I was in new territory for me. So psychologically, it was like, wow, how am I going to be? Am I going to be able to still work? And but once I got through, again, I was just geeking out on science like crazy during those couple of days, and I just wanted to get through to day 5. But whether it was that the finish line was in sight on day 5, I actually felt really quite good on day 5, like a little bit euphoric. Now, I actually think that it wasn't just about the deadline. I genuinely felt that physically, I felt I was buzzing. I was really buzzing.
Something was happening type thing.
Yeah, definitely. And it was cool. I could have done if someone said, "Hey, do you want to do 7 days? You have to because of X, Y, and Z." I'd have gone, "Oh, all right, let's do it." Yeah. It was that kind of ability to carry on. So I wish I really understood my biology so much so I could really pinpoint it. Because maybe I was in such a state of ketosis and my body was just so now used to this state, this condition, and it was like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're operating, and yeah. But I did start to come in here, and I didn't like that kind
Like
of
a bit
feeling.
gaunt looking, if you
Yeah,
like.
a little bit. And people were like, at the office, they were very supportive, the team at the office. But I felt too skinny for me in my face. And my trousers, I was like, oh, I need an extra buckle on the belt, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a bit weird, to be fair.
Here's a,
Dave, you
sorry,
go.
I was
Sorry,
going to
mate.
say, just a really strange question here. With regards to fasting, what can you have within fasting? Because my thought process is you can pretty much have nothing. I've seen a few people use a bit of hydration water. I've heard some people. There we go. There's the answer. So we've got basically salt and water. Himalayan rock salt. Is that
Not table salt, but either Himalayan rock salt or Celtic salt. These two guys are they're both good. They've both got trace minerals in. This tastes better than this. Just your preference. But every pint of water I had throughout the fast had a pinch of that in it.
Yeah. Okay.
That electrolyte balance, good. I was having black coffee 2 or 3 in the morning up until kind of midday-ish, which is my usual jam.
Yeah.
And then I was just having green tea, or a chamomile tea, something like that.
Okay, so your other teas. What about like I suppose there's more calories and nutrients in it, but I had somebody doing coconut water. They were allowing themselves a glass of coconut water probably in replace of hydration water and salts, maybe. I don't know, but I'm just wondering whether that was okay. Because I always thought a fast was a fast. You literally water, that's it.
Well, this is it. You don't want to instigate any insulin spike.
Yeah, so zero sugar is the
Yeah,
food,
but sweeteners will have an insulin, effect as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to just be mindful of that. And so if you want to do a fast, I mean, you may as well just do a pure fast. I mean, I even took my apple cider, because I usually in the morning have a pint of water with lemon, apple cider vinegar, the salt, creatine, and some MCT oil. That's kind of like my morning drink. But I even took pretty much all of that out except the salt, because I didn't want the apple cider vinegar because that's quite acidic.
Didn't put the MCT in your coffee or anything for a bulletproof? None of
No,
that type of
I
stuff.
didn't, because obviously it's got calories, and so therefore the calories could kick you out of the fast and things like that. So I didn't want to mess with it. Do you know what I mean? Because as soon as you turn the switch, and you then go from your fat burning back to your
That's it, yeah. So you kind of ruin the whole idea behind it. You could kind of do like 23 hours, eat something that knackers up this clock, if you like, that seems to be going round and releasing new things as it turns throughout the period of a week. And so you're basically resetting it. So you're starting it back to square one again. So you've just killed 24 hours. What a waste of time that was. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What was I mean, I know the answer to this because I saw it on your socials and I saw your face when you were doing it. But what was what was your meal? What and why was it that
Mm.
when you broke the fast? Why did you do what you did there?
Well, hats off to all of the influencers that I have already mentioned in this podcast. Those guys just, they're so knowledgeable, and what is commonly recommended is a bone broth, because the gut is so very sensitive when you eat for the first time after that amount of fasting. You need to be very mindful of what you put in there initially, and the collagen within the bone broth is really good at protecting the gut lining and preparing it for food and for digestion. So, it's just like a really nice, tasty soup, which has a good amount of protein in it.
Mhm.
Um, it was just brilliant. It was really, really good.
I mean, you were excited on that video. You were
Uh,
very excited. You're like, this
Straw, not
tastes.
even a spoon.
that's
He
right.
was
Right.
buzzing.
But
He
literally,
was
just
like, this tastes amazing.
it was just the flavors. It was just like you just goosebumps, like all over the body, all over.
Fireworks in your mouth. Oh, this is
Yeah. And talking of goosebumps, on my day 3 and my day 4, one thing that I felt was this kind of fuzzy feeling throughout my whole body,
okay.
up down my legs and my toes, around my back, around my head. It was just this kind of real odd vibration type feeling. That's the only thing I can think of. That really, I didn't have headaches
Mhm.
at all. I was really pleased about that. Um, I didn't have. Yes, I had loads of gurgling in my stomach, throughout, especially like at night time and stuff. It's like, "Bah." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was just kind of like massage. It was like, we've got nothing in here except water. So it
yeah,
was obviously just having a little workout in it, itself. But no, that meal was amazing. And then that was about 8 o'clock in the evening. But I was really full after that. So then I went to bed, let that kind of work on my system overnight. And then in the morning, I had a little bowl of veggies, like some broccoli and some carrots and a little sweet corn and spinach, and just chopped that all up with a little drizzle of olive oil over it. And that was kind of like, I want some seasoning.
yeah,
I had that, and then a few hours later, I had 2 eggs and half an avocado. And then later on, I had like a little bit of salmon with some salad, and that
yeah,
was kind of day 1. And then I got into more food, and on day 2, sort of more complex stuff,
yeah.
hydrates and stuff like that.
To
So
take it
really,
nice and easy coming back out.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
even the food choices as well that you've chosen there. So you still stay in keto because it's high proteins and fats going in, very low sugars for the initial day. So you're still on the keto diet, you're still in that form, even though you're eating. You're not really going. Whereas I suppose if you were to start off with a bowl of sugary cereal, which I'm sure you craved to death, if you did do that, that's just going to knacker it up straight away, I suppose. It's not going to do the benefit of it.
but the reaction that you would have,
Yeah.
because it would just be such a contrast.
You'd be like whack with a sledgehammer, I would imagine,
Yeah,
wouldn't it, on the body?
exactly. Your body would hate you for it.
Yeah.
Because it's foreign to us, our system anyway. All of that processed stuff that we sometimes indulge on, it's, especially when a body is very clean.
Yeah.
It's not good. We all love it from time to time, and when you're not in a fast, you can cope with it if you
Yeah.
if you have a binge on a Saturday night, for example. But yeah, going out, fresh, I wouldn't recommend it.
I
And
love that.
now you're a good couple of days back into the cycle of your normal. Not
Yeah.
the same as everyone's normal because you are a very fit and healthy guy focused on his well-being, but you're normal. Do you feel drastically different to how you felt 2 weeks ago prior to the fast? Is there anything that kind of, do you just feel a lot of accomplishment mentally? Is there any physical changes? How are you generally kind of feeling now?
Yeah, uh, mentally very pleased and happy that I was able to achieve that, and know that I can survive without food.
Yeah.
And because obviously with my training, I do my best to try and hit a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So it's like 190, 195 grams of protein a day, which is a kind of a focus. And when I do that, I do get gains strength and the weight does improve in the gym, on with regards to muscle. So having that as a focus to then saying no to even 1 gram of protein for that amount of time was a big achievement for me, because you can get addicted to food when you train. And so that little bit of warfare in my head, being able to overcome that, just like having the cold shower in the morning. I don't want to do it, but I'll do 2 minutes because I want to be able to win in that moment, other than let comfort, take me on and win. And so now right now, I mean, obviously I do feel a little bit leaner than I did prior to starting. I'm looking forward to getting back into the gym this week. I didn't go yesterday because we've got a bit of an office refurb going on, so I was actually there doing some stuff. But I'll be at the gym in the morning, and I expect to be very fresh and strong and ready, because I've had a week off lifting. But yeah, I just feel good, and sleeping well, and it's good.
That's a
I didn't
question.
sleep well during the fast, to be
I was
fair.
going to ask you that question then, Alex. How did the sleep go during the
It
period?
wasn't that good, Dave.
Right,
It really
okay.
wasn't. No,
Strange that, really. If there's no sugars in the system to keep you awake, your sugar levels are low, your blood sugar's low, you need the rest, your body's going to be fatigued to a degree. You'd think it'd go the opposite way, wouldn't you?
yeah, for me, maybe because it was kind of like I was just feeling maybe just hungry, like generally just empty inside.
Yeah.
And so I had that kind of, I don't know, the anxiety or the fact that I've got another whole day ahead of me type thing
Yeah.
tomorrow. And so, I could, one thing I did feel, I could feel my heart pounding like at nighttime. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Not necessarily beating fast, but just boom.
You noticed it as opposed to
Yeah, yeah.
previously it was just in the background.
Yeah, maybe because there wasn't any digestion going on, so the only thing I could hear is my flipping heart beating like
Yeah.
easy. Um, so yeah, woke up in the morning and I was like to my missus, I was just like, didn't sleep that well last night, love. She's like, well, you're doing it to yourself.
I
Um,
wonder. I
As she
wonder on
walked
this.
past with a bacon butty and a coffee. See you later.
Yeah, cheers.
it's your choice.
I think we had the conversation. I was like, obviously way behind what you were doing, but even kind of day two for me when I was at my 48 hours, and I think you at the time were at about 70 or 60 or something. Making toast for your child the next morning is the worst thing that you can do.
Smell. Oh
The
God.
smell.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. I do
But
wonder on this. Sorry, Alex, go on.
no, just on that actually, on day two, I was with you, but on day 4 and day 5, I actually was actually getting pleasure out of preparing food for other people.
Nice.
It was like quenching my desire because I was smelling the food.
Yeah.
It was around me. It wasn't like it wasn't there. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, hey, you're still here. I can smell you. I'm going to see you soon. We're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that little bit of comfort in that experience. And my little sister, and this is going to blow your minds, she's done 21 days fasting twice.
She was in a car crash or something in the middle of nowhere. How'd you do that?
We just keep going. You're in PT. And so she did it twice, and I remember her vividly becoming like a chef. This is when she got into her own with food prep, because she felt what I felt, what she felt in the preparation of food, and actually getting a kick off of that, which would then make you feel less sad around not eating.
Yeah. I
That's
suppose as
amazing.
well, when you were saying then you started to cook for other people, I bet it makes you feel really good as well that you're attacking these goals, but also in those moments, you're achieving them as well, because it's like, right, no, this is a battle of the wits and I'm winning this. I'm going to make sure that I make the tea for the kids as good as I possibly can do. And I'm going to prove I don't need that. I don't need that. And then your brain saying, no, no, we really do somewhere. We really do. No, we don't. We don't. You can get pushed to the back.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Yeah.
the inner bitch comes out. Not necessarily you've got one, but we've all called we all have an inner bitches when it comes to running, this, that, and the other, and named them. I wondered if you have one, did it shout a lot while you were doing the fasting?
I just really kept busy.
Yeah.
I made more phone calls. I listened to more stuff. I had more conversations. I went out for walks. I just kept doing stuff. And as soon as I started to think about, oh, it'd be nice to eat, and oh, it'd be nice to, I just snapped myself out of that train of thought quickly
Yeah.
and went and did something else.
Yeah.
And that was my saving grace throughout the period of that, because I could have easily gone down that road and
Yeah.
felt rubbish and felt really, really up against it. But I was just able to, focus on something else.
Love
Did you
that.
watch that documentary, Alex? Have you watched it yet?
Hey, no, I'll check it out.
There's a documentary on Amazon if anyone's kind of wants to carry on their fasting quest of learning. I think it's called in Healing Within, and it's basically about these two Aussie brothers that do a 40-day fast. And the first 20 days they go out into the woods, basically in their camper van. They get natural mineral water from the stream. They both shave their heads. They both give themselves a full body scrub. They go into the lake. They really like cleanse themselves fully, and they totally ingrain themselves in it. And the reason behind it is the younger of the brothers suffered a traumatic back injury, and the only time he's not in pain is when he's fasting. And so that was the whole process. And they then end up interviewing quite a few different people that have struggled with all sorts of different illnesses, all the way through to like leukemia,
Yeah.
and people that have gone on this journey of these 21-day fasts that you talk about with Liv. And it's quite powerful, some of the stories that are kind of told of, the doctor's analysis before and after these things. And yeah, I think it's called The Healing Within on Amazon, but it's a really good documentary.
Yeah.
And yeah, Alex, it's been really cool to kind of hear that story as someone that's quite into a little bit of the fasting, the Monday kind of 24-hour thing, and um, pushing those 48 hours. And it's interesting to hear the difference. I don't know about you, Dave, but I'm like really driven to get to that 72-hour mark and
I
sort
am,
of feel
mate. Do
that.
you know what? Previous to us coming online, me and Ian were actually having a conversation about the nutrition and everything else. And based on what you've been talking about in here, Alex, I do think that a fast, certainly a 3-day fast, which I'm going to go for next. I find the 24s relatively easy, to be honest. More than that, I've not tried, but I think it would really help me, certainly with the gut reset and what's happening in my body. So I have struggled for years with I was diagnosed with chronic gout, where probably about 5 years ago. So it affects like my joints. It's a bit like arthritis, but I have managed to curb it down by changing my diets. It was one of the reasons I went actually for the 18-6 diet. I thought if I can shorten my window down, it actually stopped me eating sugar either side of the windows as well, which helped. But that was one of the reasons I went down that route. But I do think now what I'd love to do, and with a nutritionist at the moment, so I'll have a chat with them and see what they think. But maybe get my bloods done again prior. And I'm also going to have them done maybe a week after I've had them done as well, just to see where my levels are with blood sugar levels, my hormone levels, the inflammation levels, the good ones, the bad ones, and different things. But yeah, you've really inspired me, mate. I'll be honest, to go and do. It's nice to hear somebody. You see these on other YouTube channels and these, famous guys and this, that, and the other. But I think it's really nice to get, I mean, a normal person that's coming on here, not ridiculously ultra athlete that everybody knows, because they can be a bit like off-putting sometimes that, yeah, of course these guys can do it. What about the normal guys that have got normal jobs and kids and stresses and strains and the cars break down the same as everybody else is? How do
Yeah.
those guys do it? So it's wonderful to hear, you know, a story like yours. It really is, mate. So yeah, I think you've inspired me to do the 3-day one, and now I've said it, I'm gonna have to really do it, aren't I? And maybe let people know where I am before and after it, and maybe in between. Yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to your story and the thought process and the science behind it. Yeah. So cheers,
Well,
mate.
the year ahead looks like this, just so you guys know, because I think with the fasting, it's all about finding a routine that works for you.
Yeah.
And the key with the fast is to vary the length of them, and 16/8 is very common, but sometimes people do that every single day, long term. And the issue with that is it changes your set point of your calories, so your body gets more efficient at burning calories if it knows it's getting a reduced amount. And so it's good just to move it around. So what my week looks like sort of now is on I do a 16/8 on a Monday into a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So I miss breakfast on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then on Thursday, I've got tennis in the evening, so I finish eating at around about 4 o'clock on Thursday, and then don't eat again until the following day at 12 o'clock. So that's kind of the 20-hour one.
Yeah.
And then also on the Friday, I'll do a 16. So that's kind of my week. So 16, 20, and a 16.
Yeah.
And then the 3 days, I did one in September, and then obviously the 5-day in Jan, and I'm going to do another 3-day in June, early June.
Okay.
So that's 11 days fasting just on the long ones, and then if you average out sort of, let's say 120-hour a week, for example, if you look at that over the course of a year, you're fasting for near on 50 days total, which is a good percentage of your year.
Yeah, if we can get it anywhere near the 20, that's a golden rule in everything, isn't it? Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how the week looks, and it means I can on the other days eat a lot because I still want to get strength gains in the gym, and that's important to me. And but then also stressing the body on the calorie restriction through the fasting and the autophagy and cleaning up the body and stuff like that as well.
And if there was one final piece, one final tip, one bit of advice to someone that is 24 hours in and they're trying to get to that 48, or they're 48 hours in, they're trying to get to that 72, the breaking point for most people. One piece of advice that you would give to anyone listening, what would that bit of advice be, Alex?
Well, surround yourself with people that are supporting you. That is hugely important. And make sure that you haven't got loads of food in the fridge that is tempting you. So the week before we stopped our HelloFresh, that didn't come, so there was less food around, and that was very, very important. So, but I think the support, as long as you've got people around you that are in your corner, that are just saying, keep going, you're doing well. I think that is the most powerful.
Yeah, support and planning is something that probably could relate to a lot of these challenges. So yeah, great advice. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the podcast as one of our official guests. It's good to have you on.
Thanks.
And if you do anything more than the 5, or you get any more science on it, we'd love to have you back the end of the year to talk about the next big one. Maybe you can chat through Dave on his 3-day with me. We'll do it as a group.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. See if we get your sister on if she's still not fasting, is she, somewhere in the middle of nowhere? Just like 200 days in now. That was amazing. Yeah, brilliant, mate.
Very well. But
yeah, love it.
It's been great jumping on today and sharing the story. And let's forge forward and enjoy your next fast.
Happy days.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Alex.
And thanks a lot for your time, mate. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.